If you travel, you know how the smallest things can make a vacation. So today I'm going to be sharing some easy ways I make the most out of my travels. I've taken a trip to Boston and Cape Cod with my Delta SkyMiles Platinum American Express card. And how gorgeous is it? This is my first time here. I've always wanted to visit. This harbor and waterfront and skyline is so beautiful. And I'm down here for sunrise, and the sun rises over the water here, obviously, because I'm on the East Coast, but I'm from the West Coast. So I'm just used to the sun setting over the water, so it's nice to see a sunrise over the water. It's different. Okay, so the first way I maximize my travel experiences is I use a travel credit card, not just for travel expenses, but for everyday expenses too. This is without a doubt the easiest everyday thing you can do to up your travel game because you already spend money. So you just keep doing what you've been doing, but earn travel perks while you do it. I've flown with Delta for years, and with the Delta Amex card, I earn miles on my purchases. Not just Delta purchases or travel purchases, but the everyday stuff too, like groceries. And then I can use the miles I've earned in a variety of ways, like toward booking future travel, upgrading my seat, and I get to check my first bag free when I book a Delta flight with my card, which saves up to $60 round trip. The beauty of using a travel credit card as part of your everyday life is you get to earn miles without really having to think about it. Like every few months I'll check my account and it's like, oh, I have a bunch of new miles for my next trip. Another way I make the most out of my trips is I book hotels in the areas that I want to explore and spend time in. This may seem like a no-brainer, but for years I would book hotels in further out areas of the city to stretch my budget further. But over time I realized that that money I was saving on the hotel was usually spent on taxis or a rental car and parking and trying to get to where I actually wanted to be. And I also found it really changed the way I thought about my day, because if I wanted to be somewhere really early, like for sunrise, I had to think about, is transit even running that early, or can I get a cab that early? Do I want to walk in the dark to this viewpoint for sunrise? And I found that I started cutting my days shorter. Like I started going back to the hotel earlier because I didn't want to wait until cabs thinned out and I couldn't snag one. Also, there's just something so much better about being able to wake up and step outside of your hotel and just be there. Like this morning, I knew I would want to spend a sunrise on the waterfront, so I booked a hotel in this area, so I just had to wake up and walk a couple minutes. I also get 3 miles per dollar on purchases made directly with hotels with my Delta Amex card, so again, I'm working toward upgrading my next trip during my current trip, which is awesome. I've made it to Cape Cod. How gorgeous is this? The next thing I always try to do when I travel is book a local tour, because it's a great way to experience what's unique in that destination, because whatever the best thing to do in that destination is, they're running tours for it. I've signed up for local food tours, cooking classes, ghost tours, swamp tours. I especially like anything scenic or wildlife focused, so here I've signed up for a whale watching tour. This was my first time going on a dedicated whale watching trip, and not long after leaving the harbor, we encountered several pods of humpback whales, and it was magical. If you come to this region, you have to go whale watching. Tours are available all over the coastline, even leaving from downtown Boston, and it was one of the highlights of my trip. The next thing I always try to do when I travel is plan something relaxing. It took a really long time for me to realize that sometimes less is more when it comes to an itinerary. I used to think that if there was a second of downtime on a trip, I was wasting my time. Like if I was gonna sit and read, I might as well have stayed home. And so I would cram my itinerary so full, running around all day long, that it just burnt me out. So now I always try to plan something slow and simple, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be sleeping in and ordering room service and eating breakfast in bed and having a slow morning. It could be reading a book. One thing I found about Boston is it does great coffee. It does great food in general. So I'm off to get some coffee this morning. The next thing I always do before a trip is scope out restaurants and make reservations in advance, because there is nothing worse than walking 20,000 steps around a city all day, finishing around dinner time, and realizing no restaurants anywhere have tables available. It is no fun to be hangry and scrambling to find somewhere to eat after a long day of sightseeing, so making a reservation keeps things a lot more relaxed. Not that finding a little hole-in-the-wall spot that doesn't take reservations can't be a great experience as well. Sometimes those are the best places to eat in a city, but it is kind of hit and miss. So now I try to make at least one reservation for a trip so I know I'm guaranteed a good dining experience. And I earn 2 miles per dollar when I use my Delta Amex card at restaurants, whether I'm traveling or at home, which I love. Okay, so for my thoughts on Boston after my first visit here, I would give it 2 thumbs up. I also didn't realize how big of a launching pad Boston is. There is so much to do within driving distance of this city. You can drive out to Cape Cod, you can road trip up the coast of Maine. It seems like there's a lot of outdoorsy things to do around here. So if you do make a trip to Boston, I would highly recommend looking into the other things that you can get to around here as well. So those are some of the ways I maximize my travel experiences. Check out the link in the description to learn how you can make the most out of your travels with the Delta SkyMiles Platinum American Express card. Thanks for watching as always. I hope you're well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.